obviously is solving equations.
I saw 50% of your head.
So the first page there's one step, two step, multi-step. You can get no solution, you can get many solutions. So remember, in any equation, the whole idea is to get the letter by itself. So you get rid of anything that's on that side by doing the opposite. You're undoing it. So since it's a minus, I'd add 11 to get rid of it. Do the same to the other side, and that gives you negative 5.
You got that wrong?
I got -4.
Here, it's y divided by 3. So you do the opposite of divide by 3, you multiply by 3, because then they cancel. There's still a negative there, so you could just as well take it times a -3, because then they would cancel too. So take this side times -3, and you get -21. To get the x by itself, get rid of the 7. Since it's not attached to it, you always add or subtract it. The other way you can think of it is you just move it across and it changes signs. That ends up doing the opposite. So to get rid of it, it's a minus. So you do the same thing there. You get -28.
Wait, you got number 2 wrong too?
Yeah, I say first one right.
4, before you solve this, you got to simplify it. When there's two negatives together, what happens?
Jake cancel.
Turns to plus 20. So to get rid of a plus 20, you minus 20. And you get -7.
We know this.
Wait, were you supposed to mark these wrong?
No, this is just a review for the
But you
test.
wanna.
The test tomorrow will be just like this test we're going over right now. On number 5, on this side, you can combine those like terms. Now remember, when they're on the same side, you don't do the opposite. You just combine them the way it shows. A 4x and a 3x makes 7x. The only time you do the opposite is when they're on opposite sides. So this becomes 7x, and then it's -9 equals 5. So now, to get the x by itself, remember you get rid of anything not hooked to the x first. Anything hooked to the x gets rid of last. So to get this over with the other number, it's a plus or a minus, so you do the opposite, you plus. Do the same to the other side. Then divide by 7, and you get 2. Now remember, these are easy enough to check. You can just plug your answer back in and use your calculator to figure out if you got the right answer. 4 times 2 plus 3 times 2 minus 9, press equals to see if you get 5. If you don't get 5, you just did something wrong. Here, on this side, we got to simplify. You can distribute that through. A number up against parenthesis means take everything in there times that number. So 2 times 2x is 4x's. 2 times +9 is +18. So again, it's a 2-step. So to get the x by itself, get rid of the 18 first. It's a plus, so you minus 18. Minus 18 to the other side. Now remember, you can only add or subtract like terms. 17 is a constant. 18 is a constant. So you can combine them. It's just when they're on opposite sides, you got to do the opposite. So that gives us -1 equals 4x. Then divide by 4. And if it's a fraction like that, you can just leave it like that. -1/4. You can divide it out and you get -0.25. That would be correct also. Either way is fine. Fraction or decimal.
The decimal, I put the dot to 2.5. Should I cross that off?
Well, that's wrong. Yeah, it is 0.25 because 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. 13, we've got to distribute this 4 through before we can solve anything. So the 13x just stays there for now. Since that's a -4, just think of it as a -4. Got to get these signs right or else everything else will be wrong. Negative times positive is -8x. -4 times -5, this is where a lot of people mess up. A negative times a negative is +20. So, you can combine these two, they're on the same side. It's just 13x's minus 8x's is 5x's. Now it's a 2-step. So hopefully you guys are getting good enough now where you could just probably use the calculator. 15 minus 20 divided by 5, right?
Yeah.
Minus 20, and you get -5. divide by 5, and you get negative 1. Here we've got an x on both sides. So if there's x's on both sides, you want to get them to the same side. So the quickest way to do this would be to move this over here, because then the negative 40 just stays on the left. Since it's a positive and I'm moving it over, you do the opposite. You minus 7x, and that's negative 10x. So divide by negative 10 and you get 4. Here we've got to distribute the 2 through. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Equals 4x minus 6. Right. If it's the same thing on each side, it's many solutions. Now if you didn't notice this, if you tried to get the x's together, to get rid of it, I'd minus it, and they cancel off both sides. If the x's or letters cancel off both sides, it's either many solutions or no solution. What's left is negative 6 equals negative 6, which is true, so that's why it's many solutions.
Why don't you write that down?
He doesn't have to, it's just a review.
Yeah.
Here, we've got to simplify it before we can solve it. 2 negatives cancel. So, to get the x's together on one side, it doesn't matter which way you move them. I'm going to move this one over here. It's a minus, so add 4x. And you get 8x. Which means I want to get the non-x's to the other side. So to get rid of a plus 3 or a minus 3, you add 3. And you get 8. Sometimes people put 0. What is it? 8 times 0 is not 8. 1, because you divide by 8. 8, anything divided by itself is 1. 11. If I move this over here, it's a plus, so I'd minus it to get rid of it. Do that to the other side, the other x, and they both cancel. No solution. Negative 8 does not equal 14. Ever remember what to do when there's a minus in front of the parenthesis? Distribute it through. So all it means is it changes the signs, because that means opposite. This changes to a minus 2x, this changes to minus 3. So we can combine these two. They're on the same side, so don't do the opposite. 4x minus 2x is 2x. Minus 3 equals 7. So now, get the x by itself. Get rid of the minus 3 by adding 3. And then divide by 2, and you get 5. All right, solving the equation, round to the nearest hundredth. Everyone remember how many decimals the hundredth is? 2. So this is just a 2-step. We got to subtract 23. You get negative 133 equals 15y. Then divide by 15, and we'll get negative 8.8666666.
Oh, wait, what?
The 6's keep going. So we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, so that would round up. So it'd be negative 8.87. 14, we've got x's on each side, so I'd move this one over. When you're moving it over, it changes signs, or you do the opposite, whichever way you want to think of it. So 7.3x. Get the non-x's to this side, it's a plus, so I got to do the opposite, minus 6.7. And we get negative 12.6. So divide by 7.3. And you get negative 1.726. So the 2 would round up. So it'd be negative 1.73. Word problems. You bought 8 copies and paid 78. How much did each poster cost? What do you gotta do to figure out the cost of each?
Divide.
78 divided by 8.
It's
$9.75. Your school band needs to buy new equipment. It will cost $24.50. You have collected 812. If you sell sandwiches at $3.50 each, how many sandwiches will you need? So it's $3.50 per sandwich. You can use any letter. Plus, you already have $812. You want that to equal $24.50. So again, if you solve this without writing the equation down, you'd take the cost of it, you'd subtract what you already have, and then you just divide by 350 to figure out how many sandwiches that would take. That's just solving the equation without writing it down, because to get the x by itself, you gotta subtract off the $812 that you already have. And that means you need $1,638 more dollars. So to figure out how many sandwiches that is, you divide by $3.50. And it's 468 sandwiches. Health Club. Non-members is $2 per day to swim and $5 for aerobics. Members pay $200 plus $3 per day for aerobics. Write and solve an equation to find the number of days you must use the club to justify. So remember how to do these types? You set them equal to each other. The non-members is 2x plus 5x, which means you're paying $7 per day, right? You want that to equal the members, which is $200 plus $3 per day. So, to solve this, get the x's together, it's a plus, so minus 3x. And you'd have 4x equals 200. So divide by 4, and you would get 50 days. So if you're gonna go 50 days, that's the break-even point. Anything over would be better to buy a membership. Okay, a page of a yearbook is 8.5 by 11. The left margin is 1 inch, the right margin is 2.5. The space between is 1/4. How wide can each picture be to fit 3 across the page? So every picture we don't know. So we'll call that 3P. Plus, the left margin is 1 inch, right? The right margin is 2.5. Now here's the trick. The space between every picture is 1/4 inch. If you've got 3 pictures, how many spaces is that? 2. So 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch is 1/2 inch. So the 3 pictures plus the left margin and the right margin plus the space in between, what is that going to have to equal? 8.5. You guys know that the 8.5 is side to side and 11's up and down?
Yeah.
So you could just put 8.5, 8.5. So to solve this,
Bless you.
we've got 3 pictures plus 1, 2, 3, 4 inches has to equal 8.5. So we subtract the 4 inches of spaces and then divide by what every picture is, 3 1.5 inches, right? Yep. So the pictures would be 1.5 inches. Solving for the variable. To solve for D2, this could be done in just one step. It's 1/2 times D1 times D2. You could just divide by 1/2 D1 and you're done. Okay, yeah, and that would be correct, that wouldn't be counted wrong. But they usually don't want a fraction in a fraction, so you could do it this way, it's just a little cleaner. Take a times 2 right away to get rid of a half. And then divide by D1. And it's the same answer, it's just written, this is considered the simplified version. But the other way would be correct also. To solve for B1, again, it's 1/2 times h times all that. You could just divide by 1/2 h. I'm going to do it this way though. Get rid of the 1/2 by taking it times 2. Then it's h times that parenthesis, so divide by h. We're getting the B1 by itself, so we got to move this term over. It's a plus, so it changes to minus. To solve for h, we got to get rid of this term first. Anything not hooked to the letter, you move first. So all we're going to do is move it across. Ever remember what happens when you move a whole term? Change of signs. So the s just stays there. This changes to minus 2 pi r squared. That's going to equal 2 pi rh. So then the last step, since it's all multiplied, just divide by 2 pi r. That'll get rid of all of them, getting the h by itself. So divide the whole side by 2 pi r. So remember, when they say get the letter by, or solve for that letter, that means get the letter by itself. Rewrite so y is a function of x. That means get the y by itself. So here, this is a simple one. We just got to move that over. 4, the y stays the same, the 4 stays the same. This changes to minus 9x. Here's the y. Get rid of anything not hooked to it first. So that's going to stay the same. This is going to stay the same. This is going to change from minus to plus. Then, to get the y by itself, it's negative 2 times, so you divide by negative 2, and you're done. (24). Get this 2 out of there, so this is just going to stay the same. That's going to stay the same. This is going to cross over, so it changes to minus 2. Then it's y divided by 6, so take it times 6, and also take it times negative to get rid of the negative. Leaving you with y. So you got to do that to the other side. Take it times negative 6. Put parentheses around it, yep. Because you got to take the whole side times negative 6. Or you could just go ahead and multiply them both by negative 6 too, and that'd be fine. Then this is like the assignment we just corrected. Ever remember how to find the unit rate? Divide the two. We want to know how many it is per serving. So you take 27 divided by 4.5. And it'd be 6, remember to label them, ounces per serving. Money always comes first, because they might write it backwards. 9 hours, you get 65.25. So you take the money divided by hours. And that's 7.25, so that'd be $7.25 per hour. Better buy, you got to figure out which is the cheapest one. These are always written backwards. You got to remember to take the money divided by whatever it is. So you take $4.39 divided by 32. This one's $0.137 per ounce, which would round to 14 cents. Here, divide these two. And that'd be 0.1198. dollars per ounce, which would round to 12 cents per ounce. So this is cheaper, the 50-ounce box. You can rewrite it, or you could just circle it to show which one your answer is. Okay, converting, these are just right in a proportion. This is your ratio. $1 US is 1.8943 German marks. So since I put US on top, I'd have to put this on top. And we're gonna convert it to German marks. So you just cross multiply and divide. And that would be 284.145, which we would round to 284.15 marks. Because they only have 2 decimals in money. Here's the conversion. 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. So since this is miles, that would go on top, because I put miles on top. Kilometers is on the bottom. So you just cross multiply and divide. And that's 462, or 426, sorry. 0.385 kilometers. And then the percent. Anytime you're finding a percentage, you gotta divide. You take what you want over the total. So if the tax is 288 and the price is 36, you take the part 288 and divide it by the total 36. Round to the nearest whole percent. So this one does round, it's 0.08. Which when you move it 2 spots would be 8%.
Carly got 1%, didn't you?
Yep.